800-978-4812. That's 800-978-4812.
Here's important new information from the Diabetes Solution Center for you, a family member, or a loved one suffering with diabetes. If you have lost your provider, or if you need a provider for diabetic supplies, you may qualify to receive your diabetic testing supplies now with little or no out-of-pocket cost, regardless of your age. All you need is Medicare or private insurance to be potentially eligible. Call the Diabetes Solution Center right now for details. Just takes a couple of minutes. Our friendly, knowledgeable agents will give you free, no-obligation information, handle all the insurance paperwork, and make sure your supplies are delivered directly to your door for free.
Call U.S. Medical Supply 24 hours a day. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. Call right now. 800-597-9323.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379, or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
Let's be honest. Wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feather Chair Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Feather Chair. The world's lightest wheelchair is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Joco Community Radio. Listen live at tunein.com.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Positivity Toolbox with your host, life coach Diana Roberts, also known as Lady Diana. On my social media, I am actually switching and converting my name over. We're going to be talking a little bit about my Mind Over Moons that's coming. We're also going to be talking about problems and, so a lot of times I feel like we like to play the blame game. So we want to talk about why we want to do the blame game. Also, why we see our mistakes and our problems as somebody else's, or we want to point the finger, again, playing the blame game, right? So we want to discover, we want to uncover why that occurs, why we're doing that, and how we can shift from that and move on to a different, mindset, as well as, the biggest thing I see too is we don't accept a lot of our responsibility of our actions, of the things that we're doing, the mistakes that we're making. And so that's going to be a little bit of what we're talking about too. So we're going to start with that this morning. And first I wanted to say happy Monday. And we're going to take some deep breaths. Okay, guys, let's take a couple of deep breaths and get centered and get balanced and get ready to accept and just accept the information that's going to be provided this morning. All right, so one big breath in and let it out. Let's do that again. One more. Let it out. And one more. And let it out. All right. Whew. Shake it off. Feel relaxed. I hope you guys feel a little bit more relaxed and ready to start your day and start your week off right? So let's break into this. Let's dive into this. So mistakes. We all make them. And I don't really necessarily like to call them mistakes. I like to call them life lessons or, like I vocabulary. And you'll hear me say this a lot throughout my show. Vocabulary is huge. It's everything. Everything that you're saying is what you are putting into your mindset, is what you're reflecting on your day, is what you're putting out, right? And what you're going to bring back. So if we're saying, oh, I keep making all these mistakes, it's already attaching a negative to that. So instead of saying I'm making mistakes, I'm learning. I'm going through life and I'm taking each step every day into learning on where did I go? Where did I maybe shift off of my path? And that's not really who I want to be. So I was listening to Jay Shetty this morning, which I always do. I love Jay Shetty. Jay Shetty, please come on my show. One day he will. I know he will. So instead of goal setting, think about growth setting. Make sure you're becoming the person you really want to be. Now, when we shift our vocabulary, when we understand that instead of playing the blame game, we're taking that growth opportunity in not wanting to go ahead and first initially blame the other person or blame somebody or something, right? We're going to take ownership of our part in it because honestly, everything in life takes two. Everything in life takes two. Isn't that crazy? It's not just you. And a lot of times it's our it's our choices. It's those choices that we tend to make, and decision making is so challenging, right? I know we all struggle with decision making, like, oh, should I, you're weighing your pros and your cons and wanting to make sure you're doing the right thing and you're stepping into, that person that you really want to be. Again, we're looking for growth, right? We're looking to be a better person, to be our best self and live our best life daily, right? So in order to do so, a lot of that has to be a vocabulary shift. And again, one of those is take out blaming other people. Take that out. Okay, so how do I do that, Diana? Because I just do it. It's natural. It's human nature. Yes, I get it. Because the first initial reaction that you want to do is, well, man, if this and this and this hadn't happened, or if this person hadn't of caused this to happen, this wouldn't have happened. Well, no, that's not necessarily how we have to go about that. We can shift our mindset. We have control and the power to do so. We just have to remember that and remind ourselves of that because, again, we've been trained for so long just to be a human. And it's okay to be human. I'm not saying not to be human. I'm just saying if you're going to be human, be the best human being that you can be, right? Wake up every morning and do what you feel is the right thing to do without listening to outside sources or listening to others and taking what they're saying into accountability. You need to take your own thoughts and your own feelings on things and take accountability for those and take those into action because that's what your truth is. Now, again, some of our truths have been provided to us from previous training that may not be exactly where we want to be, right? So, for instance, your parents. Our parents, they did the best that they can, right? They did what their parents had taught them and trained them to do in being a parent. And some of them have not necessarily used all of the same tools that their parents did because maybe they didn't appreciate or didn't think that they were doing things maybe the right, correct way. So there's always that, right? So we're going to look at the difference between understanding that you don't have to be your parents, you don't have to have that same training. You can shift your mindset 100% and be you and do what feels right for you. Okay, especially when it comes into your parenting. So, but that is a lot of where it started, right? We're hearing, well, your father did da 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 da. Your mother did blah 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 blah, and this was the outcome. Instead of saying those kinds of things, why don't we say, you know what? There was this is what had happened, right? And so due to those actions, there was the reaction and then here's the outcome. And how well does that work in taking out, okay, well, this person did that, and that's why I'm here today doing this. No, we want to think of the positive, especially in others too. Like, hey, you know what? I listened to that. I took it into account. I tried it. It didn't work for me. I'm going to move on and try a different task, try a different route in making that work for me. So and then there's a quote that I really like. It says, if you own up to your mistakes, you don't suffer as much, but that's a tough lesson to learn. It is a tough lesson to learn if you say it's tough. Again, take out some of those vocabulary words. And these are things that we're listening to and we're reading on a daily, right? So, first of all, I would have taken out mistakes. I would have said, if you own up to your life lessons, you don't have to stay and continue in that same life lesson and live in insanity. But it can be something that you're going to have to put more action to see the results. So see how I shifted that whole quote right there. I like that quote. I'm not saying I don't like that quote. I like that quote, but I do want to change it up and make it be more effective for me. I want it to serve me and serve how I'm going to be able to take that information and make it work for me better, right? So that's what I'm looking for when I'm reading quotes. I love reading quotes and going, "Well, I take that word out." It's quite fun. And plus it gives you it gives you different ways of actually looking at some of the things that we are listening to on a daily basis. It gives you a different open mind to, okay, wow, I was listening to this a lot, and if I did shift it and I do shift it, wow, how much better are my results going to be just in changing up just a few of those words and making them a little more positive and not tough. Nothing's tough. It's only tough if we make it tough, right? It's only challenging if we make it challenging. Now, we all need those challenges. We need to challenge ourselves daily, absolutely. However, don't look at it as a challenge. Look at it as a growth opportunity, something that you haven't done before that you've always wanted to do that is going to push you to be your best self that day, right? So, all right, let's go back. I feel like I shifted gears a little bit, but that's okay. That's okay. We still this all of this pertains to being and creating your best life, the life that actually stands for what you're looking to make it, right? What do you want out of life? Who do you want to be? Do you want to play the blame game all the time and continue to not take responsibility, ownership for some of the choices that you may have made that had shifted you off your path, right? What are some of those things? What does all of that look like to you? How do you want to create a healthier mindset that is going to create your reality, your truth, your path, right? So we want to really look into those things. So some problem solving techniques. So again, playing the blame game, it goes a lot into problem solving because the blame game, it was a problem maybe that had occurred. It was something that had occurred that was causing a it was causing that reaction that was going to cause an outcome. Now, how can we change the outcome? How can we change the reaction to change the outcome? Okay? So you want to visualize the problem. You want to see what the problem is, okay? If it's people that are within your group that are, maybe they're not like-minded like you, they don't have the same kind of goals and ambitions, and it really is important to and I'm not telling you not to love your friends regardless of where they're at in their life. It's like and I'm going to go into some Christianity which I don't like to really label that because I feel like, I believe in God but it's everybody has their own viewpoint on that. And I won't go into that. But I will say that Jesus went out and he hung out with the people that were not necessarily doing all the right things. And he was wanting to do that so that he could bring them closer to God, right? So that he could help shift their mindset into a mindset that was actually going to benefit them and serve their purpose and serve why they're here better, right? And so again, when we visualize the problem, when we understand the problem, we can really deep in, not deep in, we can really dig in. my words today. We can really dig into that and really discover what needs to happen to shift that into a different reaction, into a different outcome. There's always a solution to every problem. And when you can remind yourself of that daily, instead of looking at it so much as a problem and dwelling on it and feeling so, you know, there's nothing that you can do to change it or fix it. You can shift that 100% and absolutely. So instead of feeling like, okay, this is a problem, look at it as, okay, what's my solution? What can I do to change that reaction, to change that outcome, right? And so we all suffer through this. We all suffer through maybe not always thinking or taking the time to slow down and think. I mean, that's another thing too. The world is moving so quickly, so we feel like we have to move quickly. Therefore, we do things and react too quickly versus actually taking the time to really sit down and think about it and maybe even draw out a dialogue. Draw out a dialogue, put it on paper. A lot of times putting it on paper can really help a lot of those light bulbs actually come on. And again, we're always constantly on our devices, our laptop, our computer. I mean, I've got my laptop and my computer right next to me right now. So we're on these things so much that if we would just put the stuff away sometimes, which I do in the morning, I don't touch this stuff in the morning. I do not. My first thing that I do in the morning, and this is another thing, have a plan of attack first thing every morning. What am I going to do first thing in the morning to have my care for self time? Okay. Because we have to have that time for ourselves. If we have that time for ourselves, we're actually doing some kind of activity. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be you turn the music on in your living room and you're dancing in your living room for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. That's really all it takes. Just get some of that movement going, stretching. Even if you were just to get up from your bed, throw on some, I'm going to get ready this morning clothes and just do some stretching. Do 10 to 15 minutes of stretching. That will also be very effective too. And you can go as long as 30 minutes to stretch. I mean, that's completely up to you. I would consider that excuse me, I would consider that more or less yoga and getting into a yoga routine. However, it's still very effective. So you want to get your self-care taken care of because that's going to make that mindset and that mind work better throughout the day anyway. And make sure you have a healthy amount of protein, you have a healthy amount of nutrients to get you through that morning as well. Your morning is when you need the most of your nutrients and the most of your protein for sure, because that's what's going to keep you in your mind going. And drink a whole glass of water. I kid you not, drinking a whole glass of water and doing something active wise is working your brain. Did you know that? Your brain needs the exercise. And so when we're creating a healthy brain first thing in the morning, that's going to help create the reactions and the outcomes, right? Cuz now our brain is working and it's working in a way that is effective, okay? We want an effective brain. We need an effective brain, right? So just a few things to think about and to really start putting into your life. And I know I've talked about this book before. It's Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits is an excellent book because there are these bad habits that we create that we're producing. And I don't really necessarily like to say the word bad, but it depends. It's perception, right? What's bad, what's good, that's up to you. That's your perception of it. So whatever those habits that you're not wanting to have, that you're wanting to break away from, this book absolutely gives you a lot of the right tools in order to do so. So if you have not listened or read this book, I really highly recommend it. So definitely make sure to keep an eye out for that book on your Audible or even in bookstores. It depends on what you like to do. I like to listen to books personally. With my schedule, it's effective for me. So, all right. So to be clear on what the problem is going to take that brain, that mindset already being in a good spot. So we've already worked out how to get the day started in order to do that, right? So the next steps are, all right, what is the problem, right? How are we going to address this problem? How what does this problem look like? And I think I just said that already. Sorry, my bad. I'm trying to get my words together this morning. My brain is working very well this morning. Actually, though, I did work out this morning, so that helped. That is very helpful. Uh, but yeah, so it's being like where how to solve the problem. Now we need to figure out how to solve the problem. And then sometimes we don't identify the problem right away, or we don't identify it as a problem because maybe we're just not looking at it that way. We're looking at it as, okay, well, it's it's not a big deal. It'll work itself out. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of things when you say it's going to work itself out, it does not work itself out. You still have to put forth action. Everything in life is action. You have to put some form of action towards everything, including identifying the problem, solving the problem, being clear on what the problem is, and having the right techniques and the right skills. And maybe even, like I said, writing it down. Writing the problem down can really help open up some more light bulbs, for sure. So now that we understand the problem, we have now figured out, okay, we've identified it, we've written it down, we're on the next step now. Now we're on actually putting forth the action in creating a different outcome, right? So we're going to react differently. We're going to react to that differently. We're not going to play the blame game. We're not going to say, well, it was this person's fault or that person's fault. We're going to say, okay, this is how I am involved in this situation. And this is how I feel I need to react in order to have the better and best outcome. So I hope this is all making sense. Is this making sense to everybody? I really hope so. So admitting mistakes, that can be a challenge in itself. And a lot of times that's why we play the blame game too, because our ego is so big. Our ego does not want us to admit that we had any fault or had any reason or purpose involved in that. What I don't like to call mistake. Just so you guys can understand where we're going today, right? So your life lessons, and again, I like to shift it to life lessons. Your life lessons, you can no matter what happened, okay, no matter how the outcome presented itself, even if it may not have made it better, right? It's okay to say, I was wrong in this part of it and not say, oh, well, this person did blah 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 and this and this and this and just continuing to point fingers because there's this saying, oh my gosh, I love this saying, you guys. This saying says if you're going to point a finger at somebody else, you need to be pointing 3 to 4 back at yourself. And that's true. Because let's look at it realistically. Okay. Let's look at it this way. How many of us, how many of us have done a lot of the same things that we've said other people are doing wrong? Ooh, that's a huge one, right? I know that probably hit. That probably hit you. And it might hurt a little or sting. Okay. And that's kind of the purpose. We want to make sure that we are not staying in that same kind of mindset. When we can shift out of that mindset, guess what? You're living your best life. You are. You are 100% starting to move forward on living your best life. And all it has to do is with shifting your mindset and thinking of things more in a more positive light. And also, of course, like we're talking about, reflect on how you may have been also the problem. And I don't want to call you a problem by no means. And I don't want you to look at yourself as a problem, but look at how you reacted and why that outcome became that outcome. Okay. So again, I'm helping you shift your mindset because what I first started saying is something that we're probably saying to ourselves, right? On a daily basis. So how did I shift that? I shift that to, okay, my reaction is probably what caused a lot of that outcome or some of that outcome. You don't have to take, I mean, if it's not everything is 100% on you.
Joko Live Radio
Oh,
caller.
I've got a caller. Oh, good morning. You're on Positivity Toolbox. Hello? Hello? Oh, okay. Well, I think that was a spam caller. All right, moving on. So, again, when we shift that mindset, when we take those kinds of words out, we're really actually presenting more of a positive outlook and a more positive outcome to on our thinking and how we're thinking about ourselves too. Because let's look at it this way. If you're calling yourself a problem, that's thinking about yourself in a negative way, right? And in doing so, you're creating negativity in your life. And we want to take that negativity completely out. We want to shift that 100%. So, all right, I'm hearing more ringing. That's crazy. All right, so mistakes are always forgivable if one has courage to admit them. And so let's break that down, right? So your reactions to your outcomes are always going to be forgivable. You just have to be able to forgive yourself, regardless of what the situation was, regardless of how, bad, ugly, all those negative words, all of those words that you have maybe been attaching to it, to the problem, you know, look at that as, okay, you know what? It happened. I can't change it. Right. So you have to be able to accept the things that you can't change. And the past is one of them. Those previous things that we have maybe reacted to that had created an outcome that we weren't so thrilled about, or it wasn't really serving us in a good healthy way, and it wasn't positive by no means. And now so we're we're looking at that, and that's kind of what you're mainly focusing on, instead of saying, you know what, I can't fix that or change that or go back. I can't go back in time, but I can learn from that and move forward and really figure out what my next steps are in order for me to not allow that reaction to produce that outcome again. Right. So, do you see how shifting the mindset, do you see how changing your vocabulary and a lot of things could probably really work for you, could serve you so much better than looking at everything as woe is me, I'm the victim, blaming everybody else. It's always somebody else's fault. It's never your fault. Take some ownership, guys. Like, that's what we need to be doing, and it's okay. I don't know what shifted so many years ago that made us feel like we are not allowed to be wrong. And again, I can tell you right now, it is your ego. Your ego wants you want to be perfect. You want to feel like you're perfect every day. Good morning, Tiffany. You want to feel like you're perfect every day, like you're living a perfect day, perfect life. Well, you know what? Nobody's living a perfect life. Nobody is living a perfect life. We all have our struggles. We all have our obstacles. We all have that big bridge that we're trying to overcome and bring down or trying to get over, right? So, and I like what Tiffany says. Tiffany says, be a victor, not a victim. And it's true. Be a victor in your life. Don't be a victim. Don't blame other people. Take responsibility, take ownership, be okay with it. Know that you are going to get past it and that you can't fix it from the past, but you can focus on how you're going to react to present a different outcome the next time maybe it pops up, or the next time something like that kind of a situation comes up in your life. Because I do feel like we are faced a lot of times with some of the same situations. And I wonder why that is, guys. Why do you think that is? Because we need to learn from them. We need to make sure that we learned from them and that we have not created a space of where we continue to live in insanity and continue to live in a mindset of, well, it's never going to get any better. It's never. I don't like that word at all. There is no never. There is no never. There is an always. I can always look at this in a positive way. I can always look at my life and learn from everything that has happened and create a different reaction this year, a different reaction this week to change that. Okay. All right. So we are going to go to a quick break, guys. Stay tuned for some more on some really good information. All right. On helping yourself be a better person, living your best life.
Wilfred Brimley for Loafing Dog.
I'm Wilfred Brimley for Loafing Dog. You know, when I get the hankering for a hot dog, I go to Cleveland, Texas. Just a couple blocks off the square, they got Loafing Dog. They got the Neely Dog, the Mary Sunshine Dog, the Casey Dog, and the Shirley Dog. Why, they even got the Pacer Dog, the Brooklyn Dog, and the Jim Dog. Can't forget the Shane Dog, or the Joy Dog, and the Monty Dog. I like that fool. The Nakia Dog and the Braxton Dog round things off. Why, they even got a kids menu too.
Loafing Dog, 208 East Chambers Street, Cleveland, Texas. Lunch, catering, or takeout, plus outdoor seating. Phone numbers 817-556-1040.
This is Wilfred Brimley. And don't forget, Loafing Dog won't give you diabetes.
Out of dead carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleveland, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379, or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
You're listening to Joco Community Radio.
All right. Welcome back with Lady Diana, life coach, Mind Over Moons. And this is Positivity Toolbox. I'm so excited that you guys stay tuned. Joco Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 24/7 on the TuneIn Radio Network. TuneInJoco.com is the place to find all the ways to listen and watch. And the station app is also available for free on Android and Apple devices. Simply search your store. Check out our lineup and more at JocoCommunityRadio.com. This episode and more brought to you by Next Level Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep at 844-839-4245. Again, that's 844-839-4245. Be sure to dress your arms and more at thetiffy.com. We love those Tiffy sleeves, Tiffany. They're so good. All right, so we are back. Now, I'm going to shift this a little bit because towards the end, we were talking about the ego. So I feel like we need to really understand the ego, right? So here we go. A little bit more in definition of the ego. This brings us full circle and back understanding what the ego is, okay? It's your interpreter system, and it functions to develop explanations for your actions in the context of justification. Said differently, we can see it as the mental organ of justification, and its job is to make sure you are in a justified state of being. Now, with that being said, there's a lot more to the ego than just that, okay? But we want to understand, is our life being lived by our ego, okay? Here are some things that we are going to go over too. But first, I want to talk about Deepak Chopra, who said, we must go beyond the constant clamor of ego, beyond the tools of logic and reason, to the still, calm peace within us, the realm of the soul. Okay. So let me break that down a little bit for you guys too, that you may not completely understand that. And I listen to a lot of Deepak Chopra, so he's one of my favorites. If you have not listened to him, you should. He's really great. And okay, so beyond the constant clamor of ego is constantly going back and forth in our head. We've got our subconscious, we've got our unconscious, right? So behind the tools of logic and reason, the ego can take us away from our logic and our reason. Okay. But if we become still and we have a calm place within ourselves and we allow the realm of the soul to really identify something different than what the ego is trying to voice to us, we're going to go a long way, a longer way. Okay. So one of the ways that we can discover that our ego is living our life, it's when we have too much is never enough. Okay. You need more in your life, in family, society. You want more success. You want to possess nice things and have security. It isn't normal to have an instinctive desire to attain the most of something: money, cars, homes, power. In fact, such behavior is included in the textbook definition of narcissism. Believe it or not. This is why I believe that we all have a little narcissism in each of us. We really do. All of us have some kind of narcissism. And I'll go into that on a different show, but I just wanted to put that out there. If you want to see what greed can do to an individual, type Bernie Madoff or Charles Ponzi, okay, in your Google search. You will see what greedy and society how that can create a Great Depression and a financial crisis too. It did happen in 2008. So make sure to look into that, right? The next one is disliking when people succeed. Oh, that hits that ego hardcore. What are you doing when I want you to pay attention to that. Pay attention to the next time you see somebody else really succeeding in life. Okay. How does that make you feel? How are you reacting to that? Are you allowing your ego to take control of that? Or are you taking control of your ego and saying, no, you know what? I'm good. I'm really proud of that person. I'm really excited for that person's success. And I'm really genuinely happy for them. And I'm going to create my own success and my own happiness within myself. Okay. Take out the ego. All right. So then we have redirecting the attention back to you. We all fall short of this. Guess what? You know what? We are human and we love to talk about ourselves, especially the ego self. Okay. Our little ego self thinks it's so cool to talk about yourself. It's so cool. But guess what? How many times have you had a conversation with somebody else and you're sitting there and you can't get a word in because they are so busy talking about themselves? How does that make you feel? So why are we doing that? Right? Let's not talk about ourselves so much. We don't always need to be the center of attention. It's okay to talk about yourself. I'm not telling you not to. I'm just saying when somebody's talking about something that they've got going on that's important to them, be a listener. Really listen to them. Don't always reflect it or bring it back to yourself. Okay. Make it about them. Wow, I didn't know you were really going through that. What tools and steps are you taking to achieve breaking away from that? Or what are you how have you been so successful? Learn from that person. Again, we're here to learn. If you're not learning every day, you're not growing. So that's huge, right? Let's grow. We are here to grow and to unconditionally love. Those are two of our biggest purposes. The rest of your purpose is for you to decide alone, okay? But that is two big reasons why we are here. All right. The need to always be the center of attention. Again, we don't need that. Like, look, takeaway. Understand that attention seeking behavior is counterproductive. It's also obnoxious, rude, and annoying. Even when you may not necessarily feel like it, give others the chance to be seen and heard. Huge. And especially if you're in sales or you're an entrepreneur, you definitely really need to focus more on the other person and less on yourself. I have learned this throughout my entrepreneurship that I've created in my own life. So here we've got the next one is going to be constantly comparing yourself. Stop comparing yourself. You are not anybody else. There's no way you can be. And if we were all the same and if we all looked the same, what boring lives would we live? Okay, let's be real here. Be happy with yourself. Be comfortable with yourself. Enjoy yourself. Know that you are worthy, you are good enough, and there's no reason for you to compare yourself to somebody else. Okay. So I'm going to leave with that. We're going to go to the next one. Craving respect and recognition. I had to take a drink on that one. Craving respect and recognition. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about craving respect and recognition? How many of us do that? Now, it's okay to want respect. It's okay to want to be seen as well and to be recognized. That when you're craving both of those and you feel that it appreciated is normal and healthy, that the need to feel appreciated is normal and healthy. That's more your ego than you. Okay? We all want to feel that our contributions are recognized and valued. But the egotists take this and they go to another level with it, right? They need to feel validated through excessive acts of respect and recognition. It's like it's never enough. So that kind of goes back to the first one, right? It's never enough. So let's break away from that. Respect should be, you need to give people a reason to want to respect you, right? You need to have self respect, though, first and foremost. Self respect. You need to be able to understand the difference between being good with you being respectful and you having the respect for yourself versus others as much. Okay. The fact that you've done a good job and gave your best effort is enough. People recognize your efforts and contributions while in turn giving you the respect and recognition that is due. Now, that is huge. Okay. That is huge right there. People do recognize, they see what you're doing on a daily basis, what you're posting on Facebook, what you're posting on Instagram, all of those social media platforms. What are you posting on there that is going to, that's going to give you self respect first? But also, if you're self respecting yourself and you're posting what's positive and what's good in this world, guess what? People are seeing that. They're seeing your efforts and your contributions, right? They're seeing that you're putting out there a lot of positivity. You're putting out there a lot of best life situations, scenarios, facts, great stuff, right? So that's all you need. That's all you need. That will show other people, and being in front of people and showing them what you're contributing by just showing them. Action speaks louder than words. Action speaks louder than words. It really does. It really does. All right, next one. Always being defensive. Whew, now this probably is a really big one, and this goes to what we were talking about earlier, right? We were talking about how you want to blame other people. A lot of that comes in being defensive, but wanting to defend yourself and making yourself feel better about your actions. Okay. So always being in defensive, that is definitely your ego. It is your ego wanting to protect and defend itself from unpleasant feelings. We don't like feeling unpleasant feelings, but we need to understand sometimes you're going to feel those, and that's okay. Own your feelings. Allow them to be there, but don't keep them. Okay. We want to continue on in a positive and living your best life. So we want to shift gears into a more positive mindset. And we want to shift gears into not feeling like we are the victim, right? We are the victor, like Tiffany likes to say. I love it. All right. All right. Next. Let's go to the next one because I feel like being defensive, I think we all really understand that. And I feel that if you want to learn a little bit more on how not to be so defensive, a lot of that is going to have to be understanding your triggers. What are your triggers? What is maybe your significant other or a family member? What is a trigger that triggers you to want to feel like you have to be defensive? Once you start on being more aware of that and learning that, and again, I'll have another show that goes more in depth on that. But that's a lot of learning your triggers. Your triggers are huge. That's what causes a lot of that defensive mode. Rarely, if ever, helping others. Look, in a culture in America is very individualistic and self-serving. America is very self-serving. Let's be more conscious in decision to disregard this influence, okay? And to really act more in wanting to serve our community, wanting to help, wanting to be a part of something that is actually creating not something about ourselves, but serving somebody else in a positive, awesome way, right? People who have ego problems are very I cannot speak today. I can 100% speak today, but my like it's not wanting to come out very well. Let's try that again. Very individualistic. If a situation or circumstance does not pertain to them, then it's not worth their time or effort. And see, we don't want to be like that. Do you want to live your life like that? So do something for others. Focus on others gaining their goals and succeeding, and put yourself not aside, still, still work on yourself daily. However, still go out there and try to serve and be involved in the community. I think that's huge. Setting attainable goals. So a lot of times we want to say that we're going to achieve making X amount of dollars by the end of the year. Okay. I know a lot of us probably already have this one. Now, let's be realistic. You want to think realistically. You want to know and put forth the action that's going to provide that income to be there and those dollar bills to start showing up. If that's what if that's something that's a goal of yours. If a goal of yours is to lose weight, don't say you're going to lose X amount of pounds, knowing realistically and having the facts in front of you. How long does it take to lose? Look that stuff up before making your goals, right? Look up the facts, look how long it would take for that to be achievable. Really find out how it's going to be achievable and how long it's going to take you to achieve it. Because once you have those facts and you really understand how the time frame that it typically takes an individual or it takes in general for that to come to fruition, uh, that is something that you really need to look into to be able to set those goals. A lot of times we set them way too high. And then we're not even, it's halfway through the year and we haven't even achieved half of that. And now we're feeling down on ourselves and we just give up. Okay. So have reachable goals. That is a big one. Okay. Manipulating others. Guys, our ego likes to manipulate people into wanting to do what we want them to do. Guess what? You can't change other people. You can't make anybody do something. You can't. You cannot make anybody do something. And if you do, and if you are, don't do that. If people are actually listening to you and they're taking your advice and you're really pushing them into feeling a certain particular way and you're achieving that, you are manipulating that person, and that is wrong. They need to be able to have their own perception, their own truth, their own reality. You can't shift somebody else's reality to be yours just because you feel that yours is better. Who's to say yours is better or not? It's not your life. It's the other person's life. Even like spouses, I see this happening a lot in spouses too. The spouse wants to manipulate the other person, or in a relationship, they want to manipulate that other person into doing what they feel that that spouse or that other person needs to be doing, the significant other. Okay. How is that right? How are you letting that person be them? How are you loving that person unconditionally for who they are if you're manipulating them constantly into being somebody different? Right? So instead of manipulating that person, maybe work on what you want and keep doing the things that you want to happen in life. And maybe they might come around because they're seeing things that you're doing differently that's working for you. And they're like, wow, okay, hold on. This is really working for my wife or my significant other or my husband. I feel like I need to maybe start finding out where this is going. I need to start maybe working on this on myself and see if I can achieve these too. And also doing so. And I'm telling you, that is way more effective than trying to manipulate that person. And again, we need to be around like-minded people. So if you're around people that are not like-minded and you're trying to manipulate them into feeling and thinking the same way that you do, you're creating minions. You're not allowing those people to be who they are. And how is that right? So we're going to break away from that, right? We're not going to do that no more. We're going to take that manipulation skill and we're going to take it out 100%. So those are the nine things that are proving that you're living more with your ego than you're living your best life, and you're putting the ego aside. Because I'm going to tell you right now, that ego is not going to get you very far in life. It won't. Now, the ego is not bad. There is good things for the ego. It is a protector of who we are and what you are. However, it's knowing the difference between when your ego is doing something that's naughty or knowing when your ego is doing something that actually benefits you and serves you and being your best self and learning from something, I mean, I feel like that's a big deal. So the whole reason I wanted to go into the ego, because again, the ego has a lot of play in what we were speaking about in the first half of this show, in blaming other people, right? That manipulation, the ego has a lot to do with that because you're wanting self-serving, you're wanting to achieve higher goals than what's achievable. So you're maybe affecting others and blaming them when that's not happening, when it's not coming to fruition. I'm thinking I'm saying fruition. Blah, blah. So there's a lot of things that go into that, right? So another thing that I wanted to talk about too is um, here are some inspirational quotes. Okay. Oh, let me exit out of that. Here are some inspirational ego quotes. Ego judges and punishes, love forgives and heals. Okay, so ego judges and punishes, love forgives and heals. So again, why are we letting our ego live our life? Why are we becoming the victim? Why are we blaming other people? Why are we not taking, responsibility towards our own actions, towards our own experiences that we are our own outcome? Our outcomes are based off of our reactions. Remember, your reaction is what causes your outcome. So if you want a better outcome, make sure that you know and recognize what the reaction needs to be in order to produce that outcome. Okay, so if someone corrects you and you feel offended, then you have an ego problem. I would very much agree with that. Okay? So if someone corrects you and you feel offended, why are you feeling offended? Again, that's blaming the other person, right? Like, how dare you? Right? How dare you come at me and tell me that I'm doing something wrong? Or that I need to be corrected in some way, shape, or fashion, right? No, it's okay. Everybody has their own truth. Everybody has their own perception. If you want to continue believing your truth on that matter, that's up to you. If somebody brings it to your attention in a different light and in a different way of maybe, looking at that, be open minded to it. You don't necessarily have to follow suit or follow into what that person is saying, but at the same time, be open minded. Maybe that's what's helping them be more successful. And maybe you might need that correction in order to be more successful in your own life. All right. So is that you or your ego? I like that. And look, I'm going to tell you too, your ego. So there is a guided meditation. And if you're interested in this and you do feel like you're living your life more in an ego state of mind than in your best self, your that self that you really need, your inner being that you need to be listening to, that's going to serve you more than that ego. Okay. There is one where you can actually put your ego, you name your ego, and then you put your ego in a room and you close the door when they're being naughty. I absolutely love that one, and maybe we'll do that one. I might do that one, or I'll have it on my YouTube for sure, on my YouTube channel. But that's going to be launching soon, so I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that too. All right, so less ego, more excellence. Less talk, more do. Less rude, more polite. Less fear, more wins. Wow! Did you guys hear all that? That's awesome. That is some really good advice. Less ego, more excellence. Less talk, more do. Less rude, more polite. Less fear, more wins. And less being offended. I feel like being offended, unless it really is attacking your family, I mean, I don't know. Even then, why do we let other people and their words affect us? Right? Don't let that affect you. Don't let that change your energy. Be your positive energy self, regardless of what other people are saying. Who cares? Do they live your life? Do they pay your bills? Are they taking care of your kids? What are these people contributing to your life that makes it to where they can affect you and be offensive, when you have the power to control your own mindset and your energy, right? You have the control for that. So I would not listen to that too terribly much again. All right, so love is happy when it is able to give something. The ego is happy when it is able to take something. So, wow, I think we're learning a lot of good stuff about our ego for sure. I'm getting some of this stuff in too. I love it. Your ego is your soul's worst enemy. It can be. It can be. Again, I don't want the ego to necessarily be looked at as such a negative. We have an ego for a reason. And it's finding out when that ego is being, that what's a good way of saying this? We need to learn when our ego is not, well, here we go. I got it. When our ego is not serving us properly, when it's not serving us in a positive way. If your ego is not serving you in a positive way, you need to put her in that box. Like I say her because her name is Deborah for me. Deborah needs to go in the room and close the door. And I wanted to use another D name, so that's why I guess Deborah came up in my guided meditation. It was the first name that popped into my head. Not that Deborahs are bad. I love all Deborahs. In fact, I have a really amazing friend that's Deborah, but for some reason, my inner being wanted to name my ego Deborah. So Deborah, we have to put her up when she's being naughty and when she's wanting to cause insanity or chaos in my life. And that can occur if you allow it. Again, it's just being aware. Everything in life is being aware. Do things that feed your soul, not your ego, and you will be happy. Now, this is true too. And it kind of shifts your ego. Okay. Your ego is like, wow, I'm actually really doing something that's benefiting somebody else instead of myself. And I love that. And you're actually going to feel so much better about yourself, and your ego is going to feel so much better too. All right. So leave your ego at the door. That is a good one. Again, if she's being naughty or he's being naughty, definitely put the ego aside. Never let anyone's ego kill your vibe. I really agree with that. Stay positive and don't feed negative energy. That goes to a lot of things that I say constantly on this show. And I'm going to end with those ego quotes because I think that was some really good stuff in providing some more understanding on how the ego can really be a negative factor in your life. If you're living with your ego, you're letting your ego live your life. If you're letting your ego live your life, this is a good time to put the ego aside, right? Like we've been saying. So what are some things? Let's recap. Some of the things that we went over today is changing your vocabulary to not a problem necessarily or not a mistake, but how you reacted to an out that produced the outcome. Okay. How did I react to produce this outcome? How can I learn from this reaction to not let this reaction occur again? Maybe shift my reaction to a more positive reaction to have a better and more positive outcome. So, again, that is a good way of shifting our mind instead of saying problems and mistakes. Okay. What was your reaction? Be aware of your reaction, look at your reaction completely. And sometimes when you're making a decision or when you feel like there's a big thing that's going to happen in your life, instead of making and creating it be a negative outcome, let's look at sitting still, right? Putting the ego aside, sitting still, listening to your inner being, and really discovering the best reaction for the best outcome. Okay. I really feel like this was very needed in our conversation today, not just for you guys, but everything that I want you guys to understand, everything that I come on here and talk about, a lot of it is my own reflection, or it's something that I have been learning within my life coaches that are surrounding me that I listen to, that, have a really good role and play in my life. In a positive way. And so that's why I come on here to just produce a lot of my learning and a lot of the tools that I've learned to be able to give back to you guys so that you guys have maybe a better, more positive way of looking at these things that are happening in life instead of looking at it so negatively that it just drags you down and you fall into a depression or you fall into, just not wanting to do anything, just, not living your best life. So I want you all to live your best life. I want you to go out this week and do something for somebody else, serve somebody else, and put your ego aside, and no blame game. All right, live your best life. I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, Joco Community Radio.
If you're trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me.
You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it